Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Future of Work Day event hosted by the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program at the University of Pretoria. My name is Yolanda Gaburutwi, and I am a proud Mastercard Foundation scholar from Botswana. I'm currently pursuing my master's in public policy, and it is an absolute honor to be your MC tonight. So, as you may know, today's event is about looking forward and thinking ahead. So tonight we're going to discuss topics such as career development, digital skills, and the future of work. We have the privilege of being joined by some incredible leaders in their various industries, and they are here to share with us their insight and experience from their different backgrounds. But before we dive into that, I would like to call upon Dr. Grace Ramafi, who is our program manager, and she will give us our opening remarks.
Phew, I was worried I wasn't going to get up here, but I did. Good evening, everyone, and thanks, Yolanda, for the introduction. This is our third Future of Work Day event. We started in 2021, am I correct? That was the first one, and this is the third one, and I'm sure we're going to continue having this event because it has proven to be very successful. And I want to welcome you all, our scholars. They were smiling when I was coming in because I always say the guest mustn't find you not in the room. So when I got in here, I found many of them in here. Thank you for that. Yeah. What did you say? She says it's true, yeah. So thank you very much for being here. And to our guests, welcome to our program. And I believe that the Mastercard Foundation bug, when it hits you, you never leave. I'm sure we'll be seeing you in the future again. Just a bit of a background to our guest. The Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program started at the University of Pretoria in 2014, and the agreement was signed in 2013, and the first cohort started in 2014. It was a 10-year agreement starting from 2013 to 2023. So we have a successful first phase with 397 scholars that went through, or some of them are still going through the program with successful results. So, and this what helped us when we did our second application for phase 2. The foundation didn't hesitate to award the University of Pretoria with phase 2. The Mastercard Foundation believes that all young people deserve the right to access higher education for them to be able to realize their dreams. And I'm sure our scholars can attest to that because they know what the program offers to them and what they have achieved. Because I've heard, and I always now like using this example, and she's right in front of me when she said to me when we're doing our onboarding in July. And at our orientation, I think the last day of our orientation, she said, you know, even if I cannot continue with the program, I think I have been empowered more than anything. And that alone speaks to the program that we have. So as I said, we started with 347 scholars. We surpassed that number to 397. And many of our alumni have found dignified and fulfilling work in the various industries where they are. And some of them have become entrepreneurs. Others have taken the pathway of continuing with education. We have scholars who are now even professors and lecturers in universities overseas, in the UK and in America. And some of our scholars have proceeded to go and pursue their PhD degrees overseas. We have a young woman who recently left us. She's at Oxford University. And I'm saying all these things to inspire all of you to know that you too can do it. So in our second phase, we have around 64 scholars. The second phase started this year in 2024 with 64 scholars. And we are in about 6 or 7 faculties. We are in EBIT, engineering, built, environment, and IT. We are in the natural and agricultural sciences. We are in economic and management sciences. We are in the humanities. We have our first student in religion and theology. Thank you, Marina. Yeah, and we also have students in health sciences. We don't just take students who are doing medicine, MBCHB, and pharmacy. And we are also in law. As I said, the phase 2 scholars come from the countries such as Eritrea, Ethiopia, Namibia, South Africa, Tanzania, Eswatini, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. In total, the program is represented by 27 African countries. I'm sure we can give ourselves a clap there. Yeah. We can sit at the African Union table and make decisions with them, right? Yeah. All right. I think briefly that's what our program is about, and maybe we can even get questions later from our guests if there's anything that you want to know more about the Scholars Program. And before I leave the stage, I just want to thank Lennox for having made it possible that we have this nice place today. And with the support of the team members from the program, we have Ms. Bonolo Litsufi with us here, who's also a great support in our program. Some of our team members had to leave earlier today. I think it's just the 3 of us who are here. Okay. We are a team of about 8 with some intern students, and 2 of our intern students are alumni of the program. One of them is Lillian Kafuko, who is now pursuing her PhD in food science, and we have Oche, what's Oche's last name? Tony Oche, who's doing a PhD in international relations. So there's different types of trajectory or transition from the program. As I said, some of them continue with their studies, others go into business, they become entrepreneurs, and others they find dignified and fulfilling employment for themselves. So that's that. And now I think I'm going to I want to say to our guests, welcome. And please give us all the wisdom you have. We are learners every day, and we want to support as many of the young people from our continent so that they end up, when they transition from the program, they can go back to their countries and help all of us on the continent to create a viable economic and social developed continent. Thank you very much, and I will hand over to our MC, Yolanda Khaburudi. She was worried about doing this today, and she's done so well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for exposing me, but she is right. I was very nervous, but you guys all have friendly faces, so thank you. Thank you, Dr. Grace, for setting the tone for this event. I can attest to what you have said. You cannot join the scholarship program and leave the same, so you should be very excited about this new term to the new scholars. Okay, so now it is with great pleasure that I will introduce our keynote speaker, Ms. Yolanda Cuba. She is the founder of the Mentorship Boardroom, also a champion for democratizing access and opportunity. She currently serves as a vice president at MTN Group, and with her vast experience in leadership, business development, and mentorship, Ms. Cuba will be speaking to us on the topic Building a Successful Career in the Digital and AI Era, Insights from the Mentorship Boardroom. Scholars, please help me give Ms. Cuba a very warm welcome.
Evening.
So I'm going to try this again. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
There you go. I love it. I love it. I love it. My name is Yolanda Cuba, and I accept Cuba as well. You know, it's nice to know that there is an entire country that is named after you, right? Yeah. So I am the founder of the Mentorship Boardroom, but during the day, when I'm not moonlighting and trying to democratize access and opportunity for everyone, I am actually working at MTN and look after a number of countries. So I was glad to hear some of the countries that I look after being mentioned. That included Ghana. I was a CEO in Ghana at Vodafone. And then also I heard Uganda, Eswatini. There was another country that I look after that I heard. Which one was it? Rwanda? Did you mention Rwanda? Rwanda? Yeah. So, okay. So, so what I do at MTN is basically live MTN's philosophy. And MTN's philosophy and intent and core belief is that we can make Africa better. And that's kind of the summary. And what we said we want to do, and we want to be known as a business, is people who are going to drive Africa's digital progress. And so as you come into this program, and those who are alumni of this program, and those who are old hands in the program, the call to each and every one of you is to use technology to really democratize opportunity. And then after that, you get that opportunity, make sure that it counts. Every time I meet young people, I am excited. And I'm excited for one simple reason, is that I think every generation of leaders that we have is better than the generation before. So when I look at you with hope. I look at you with inspiration. I look at each and every one of you with eagerness of the change and the impact you're going to make, not only in Africa, but in the world. Today, I've been asked to speak about building a successful career in the digital and AI era. I'm going to start off with saying I didn't actually make my career out of a digital and AI era, right? There was very little AI in my time when I started. I might look a little bit young, but I'm super, super old, right? I started off my career in finance. In fact, I didn't start off in finance. I started in marketing. When I was 21, I actually started my career in marketing. Right? Who is marketing here? Anyone? Only one, two? Jeez. You know, I started off my career in marketing, but it lasted all of 1 year. And then I decided to go into accounting, and then decided to be a creative accountant. That's a bad idea, by the way, right? We don't like creative accountants, we want proper accountants. Anyway, mine today is really to challenge you. Because as we actually navigate this quickly and rapidly evolving landscape, let us start with asking you two basic questions. Are you ready to embrace the future? Or are you clinging on to the past? Or are you waiting for time to pass you by? I have asked this question to many people. And each time I ask it, people tell me about what they have been known for. People tell me about how great they were at school, how great they were at their job. I don't know if you noticed when I actually introduced myself, I only spoke about my current roles. I didn't speak about my past roles, right? And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that a lot of people get stuck in their past successes. You know, when you go home in the villages, you know that uncle of yours that always talks about, in 19 Tondoni, we were doing this and doing that and doing that, right? Do you know when people do that, do you know what I think about? I think about, is it because you have no current success that you keep on clinging onto 20-year-ago successes? So how do we actually then move into the present? How are we adapting to change? And how are we leading change? So when I was looking at this question, I actually had to go back into my career and ask myself, how did I move around? By the way, one of the things that I will say about me is that I was privileged enough and blessed enough to be a CEO of a JSE-listed company by the age of 29. And I'm still one of the youngest CEOs of a JSE-listed company that ever was. I was on the board of Absa Group from the age of about 27, and I was there for 12 years. When I joined, I was the youngest board member, and when I left, I was the youngest board member, 12 years later, right? So how did this actually happen, right? How did this actually happen? It didn't happen because I'm a magician, guys. It happened because there are a couple of things that I got right. The first one is that I played into opportunity. Today you have an opportunity with the Mastercard Foundation. Many people get opportunities, but they are not ready to take them. When opportunity knocks, it is your obligation to take it, not to be pushed into it. By the way, my first opportunity I was pushed into. Right? But after that, I was never pushed. And for me, why did I get that opportunity? There were two main reasons I got the opportunity. One, I had worked on my competence and skill, which is why you are here at this university, right? But then there's a second thing I did. The second thing I did is that I went out of my comfort zone to go and seek opportunities to work for free with other people, with other entities, and offered my services while I was doing my articles. So by the time I got a proper job, do you know where did I get it from? From the people that I had met while I was doing my articles. And I had met, and that opportunity would not have come had I waited for an opportunity to come to me. And what was amazing about that opportunity is that I just had to go to a meeting and accompany people that I was already trying to help, right? And as I was actually helping them and trying to explain things, the chairman and the CEO of the company said, at the end of the meeting, we don't have someone like you in this company. And they said, can we employ you? And I said, No, I'm still doing my articles, because I was still doing my third year of articles. And they said, when you finish, please come here and work for us. I thought they were being just playing nice. You know people, ne? They say, yeah, come, right? And then the one day I was sitting, and then I get this call, and then this guy says, hi, my name is Mark. And I'm like, Mark who? And it's like, no, Mark, the CEO of whatever, right? And that was the start of the opportunity for me, right? And why am I telling you the story? I'm telling you the story that because every interaction, every decision you make from now on is going to determine where you end up. It is not technology that will determine where you end up. It is your mindset. It is what you choose to expose yourself to. It is the kind of networks you decide to have. We know the Denzel Washington post, right? I love it. About the 5 people you spend the most time with. Do you know it? Can I ask a question? Okay, if you hang out with 5 intelligent people, you will become the 6th, right? If you spend time with 5 millionaires, you become the? And if you spend time with 5 idiots, you become the? Right? Right? That's how it works, right? And so, that was enough to give me the opportunity. But what did sustain me? What sustained me in these positions was a couple of things. I was young, I didn't know any better. I was bold because I didn't know any better, right? That's the beauty of being young. But I embraced everything that was around me. The first thing, I'll tell you the 5 things that I did that actually apply equally in a world that is evolving, which is the world of technology. It is firstly, institutionalized curiosity. I pivoted my career, I think 4 times, and each time I pivoted my career, I was nominated or became or named the top CEO, the top personality of that industry. Okay? I have moved from corporate finance and M&A to beer, FMCG. I've moved to telecoms, and I'm still in telecoms now. And fintech as well, and digital services, right? And each time, the drivers of those businesses were completely different. When you're selling beer, I promise you, it's not like selling airtime. Right? Totally different. So what do I mean by institutionalized curiosity? Is that your thirst for knowledge must be higher than everyone around you. Because if your thirst for knowledge is higher than everyone, it means you will read more books, listen to more podcasts, listen to more interviews than anyone else. And by the way, the research that I read many years ago, and now I'm sure has been updated, said you only need to spend only 10% more time than the average person in that industry to become one of the top 5 in that industry. That's how lazy human beings are. We don't read, we don't listen, we don't do anything, right? So all you have to do is just do 10% more. And once I figured that out, I decided that that was my strategy. So if you want to decode greatness, even in the world of technology, what is it that you know about AI today? When someone talks about Gen AI, what do you know about large language models? Other than just kind of using ChatGPT as if it's a search engine and to write essays. Who's writing essays? Be honest now, with ChatGPT, right? So it is super important that you actually increase your quotient of curiosity beyond just your own kind of area as well. You must embrace continuous learning. As I said, I was on the board of a bank. I was on the board of a construction company, listed construction company. I, together with Laurie Brosen, actually listed the hospital group called Life Healthcare. Do you know Life Healthcare? I listed Life Healthcare. Right? So, what does that actually mean? It means I was happy to get out of my comfort zone, to learn new industries, to learn what is new. Not just be curious about it, but to actually immerse myself in it. And with new technologies, all you have to do is actually immerse yourself in it. In Gen AI, they say there are 3 kind of categories that one should actually consider when we think about new technologies, and actually specifically companies adopting Gen AI. And the first one, it says, these are the takers of new technologies. Like, if I ask you, do you know what do you guys use now? TikTok and all these other stuff, right? Do you know how it works? Do you know the code? No? Are you interested? No. But do you use it? Yes, right? And that's actually the first part, is that there are some of you that would be just takers of technology. Embrace even being a taker. And actually say, even if I don't understand Gen AI, right? But I can be a taker because it's actually a good technology. Yes, it hallucinates for 30% of the time for now, meaning that it lies, right? So don't believe everything it says, right? Because it acts like humans. So when they told me that Gen AI lies 30% of the time, I asked, does it mean that us as humans also lie 30% of the time? Because it mimics what has been fed to it through our behavior and what we've written. So that means it's us, right? So if you think about that and you say, I'm a taker of technology, it allows you to play with that technology. When you first use Instagram to now when you use Instagram and the kind of capabilities that you've developed around Instagram, right? They are vastly different, but you are a taker of that. And I want you to think of every new technology, I don't care what it is. Even when quantum computing comes, you must think of yourself first as a taker of a technology. How do I use it? Let the guys who are investing billions of dollars that they're going to lose their money. Don't worry about them. But use the technology. The second one is the shapers. Those are people that are going to shape how that will look like, how that technology is going to be used within your setting, within an organization, and so on. And then there are makers. And the makers are the guys that I am not. I will not be a coder in my old age. You guys can be. Me, too old, right? So there are those people that are software engineers and those kind of people that are there. Not all of us have to be software engineers. Not all of us have to be makers at all in order to actually benefit. So for me, that's really what you have to understand, is that you actually, at least at minimum, with every new technology, have to be a taker. Thirdly, you must immerse yourself in digital literacy and the opportunity set that each one actually presents. When was it? August. Was it August or early September? At the beginning of this year, I went to my team, And, your team always looks up to you, right? You're Group Exco of this big company that has 290 million customers and everything like that. And they're like, yeah, you know a lot, right? So I go and sit with my team, and I say to my team, guys, there is something that I actually want to discuss with you. And they say, what, boss? And I'm like, you know what? This Gen AI thing, it's happening around me. But I feel like I've got a gap in knowledge, And also, I feel like there is something I'm missing, because I think 5 years from now, I'm going to look back and I'm going to see new business models that have been formed, and I won't be part of it. What am I missing? So are you able to be vulnerable and actually acknowledge what you don't know? People that tend to be successful in this age tend to allow themselves the privilege of vulnerability, the right of vulnerability. Ask when you don't know. So I decided to spend just over a week in Cambridge for executive education, learning about Gen AI and how I can use it. But then I told everyone else that this is what I'm going to do, so that when I come back, they must ask me, what did you learn? So I put myself under pressure by telling everyone, hey guys, I'm going to that course. So that when I come back, I am able to deliver value to my organization and to myself. So when I was going to do this presentation and talk to you today, I asked Gen AI. I gave it a context and I said, what should I talk about? It gave me some stuff on it. I decided that I'm not going to read it because I don't think it's fair, you know. I'm not going to drive an hour and a half just to tell you what is written by Gen AI, but I'd rather tell you a personal story. There are most probably 3 A's that I would like to leave with you today. The first one is ambidexterity, right? One of the most important things that we're seeing today is that the course or the degree that you come to learn in this institution is not what is going to determine how successful you're going to become. Now it's almost as if you can study anything. Mastercard Foundation doesn't want me to say that, right? It's almost as if you can study anything and become successful. But that's if you embrace technology. So what does it mean when I say you need ambidexterity? It means that you must understand that there are no silver bullets anymore. In my time, there was a silver bullet. When I qualified as a CA, right, there were only like 100 black women CAs. I was in demand, right? Now there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands. Your skill on its own might not be that much in demand. Me, I had to sit down and watch people actually call me. You know, yeah, because, you know, when there's such few of you, you've got options. When there's many of you, you're going to have to go on a parade, right? And so, what does this mean about your career? In my time, I could become a CA and be guaranteed a job. In your time, you're not going to become a CA and be guaranteed a job. It means your ability to adapt is going to be a super key capability you have. Your degree might be the key, but what will turn the key on that door is not your degree. It's the other skills that you choose to complement your degree with. Because I was telling a friend of mine the other day, after I had gone to this AI course, now I was talking AI most, right? And I said to him, yes, you know, your job is not going to be replaced by AI. I was sounding so clever, right? But your job is not going to be replaced by AI, right? It's not going to be taken by AI. No one's jobs is going to be taken by AI. I know that's what you read, but no one's job is going to be taken by AI. Do you know what is going to take your job? Your future job? Is someone who uses AI. So I then said to my friend after that, I said, you know, going forward, I think I'm going to ask my doctor, Guti, have you used AI? You know? Because actually, it makes sense. Just think about it. Which one would you prefer? someone says you need heart surgery, ne? And it is one person, they are examining you. Or you want someone to say, okay, I'll examine you, and then I will take all the symptoms that I see in you and put it into this kind of large language model that has seen thousands upon thousands of other cases, and then it will actually diagnose you. And then I will sit down as my doctor with you and compare what I said and what it said. And then maybe by comparing these two, I might not need heart surgery. So, and that's what's going to happen. And it's already happening, right? That is what's happening today, is that it won't be enough just to be a doctor. It'll be enough when you actually come into a room and you can demonstrate to me as a specialist after studying for 15 years, imagine that, right? That you are actually going to use some computer thing called large language models to actually diagnose me. And that's what's going to happen to your career. There is a great book called Core Intelligence, right? Core Intelligence. And it's really about Gen AI and how you can use Gen AI. Because at this stage, the actual best outcome for AI is when we use humans and AI combined. We have the best kind of results, and then AI, and then humans are here. Sorry, guys. Right? So machines are doing better than us. Right? So what does this mean? It means for you, as an individual, you actually have to drive yourself into a point of discomfort and be willing to pivot from what you have learned at school to whatever the new reality may require. The two other A's is around adaptability and also agility. Technology moves fast. Do you guys know the Morse rule, right? I'm sure most of you have learned about it, heard about it. But it says technology actually doubles every 2 years. It sort of accelerates by 100% every 2 years, right? So imagine when it's doing that every 2 years. Now that time frame is getting compressed, right? And when you think about AI cannot get any worse than what it is doing today, it can only get better, right? That for me actually tells me that my ability and your ability to change, to move fast in this world is actually going to determine your success. There are many careers that are being created within the world of tech and all the changes that are happening. So today I thought I'm not going to tell you about career paths or anything like that, right? But the person you have to be in order to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that will come. The person who will win in the new world order is the person who's willing to pivot, who will not be rigid, who is agile, who is adaptable. The person who is willing to take chances and say, this is not only, I'm only going to do what I already know, but I will try something new. The people that are willing to actually get themselves to the point of the future are the ones that are going to succeed. My mentor once said to me, Yolanda, anyone can be a shooting star. And my mentor said this to me. This, by the way, my mentor is a guy called, he was my mentor then, a guy called Simon Sussman. Their family are the ones that own Woolworths. He was the CEO and then the chairman of Woolworths Group. I'm sure you all know Woolworths, right? He's a special guy, right? And he said to me, at what I thought was my height of my everything in the world, right? He said to me, Yolanda, everyone can be a shooting star, right? In other words, you can be a shooting star. A shooting star again appears like, now you see it, now you don't, right? That's what he was saying to me. However, what is going to make you sustainable? And that's the question you have to answer for yourself. In a world that is forever changing, in a world that is forever actually demanding new things and moving at a pace that is unprecedented, what are you going to choose to be remembered for? What are you going to choose to make a mark about in Africa and the world? Today is your opportunity to reflect on the future that you want. Today is an opportunity for you to be supported by a whole big kind of group of people that will mentor you, hold your hand, so that you can be great tomorrow. Are you going to take that opportunity to your own greatness? Or are you going to sit here and say, I am not going to adapt, I am not going to change, I'm going to be who I am. Ngaziwa kanje, they know me like this, I've been famous for this. Or are you going to say, I am here to change Africa for the better? These are some of the insights that I have learned. Technology will come and go. Technology will be forever changing. However, how you choose to think, how you choose to define yourself is what will build a better Africa and a better world. Let's do it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Yolanda Kuba. I hope I said that right. I'm sure each and every scholar here that is trying to be a transformative leader will take away something valuable from what you have said. Thank you for sharing that with us. So now we are excited to kick off our panel discussion with our industry leaders who are here to join us. They're here to share all their wisdom and their experience and their perspectives on the topics of career development, the future of work, and the role of technology in shaping various sectors. The panel will be moderated by Mr. Josiah Muriuki, a MasterCard Foundation scholar all the way from Kenya, who is pursuing his BSc Honors in Food Sciences. Please join me in welcoming Josiah. And our esteemed panelists, Ms. Yolanda Kuba, the founder of the Mentorship Boardroom and vice president at MTN Group. Let's give her another clap. Mr. Peter Bond, founder and CEO of Peter Bond and Associates, representing the engineering sector. Ms. Rugua, corporate banker at a leading South African bank, representing the banking and finance sector. Welcome. And Ms. Matlatsi Ramoroka, international development specialist at UN Women, representing the international development sector. Welcome. Over to you, Josiah.
All right, thank you very much, Yolanda, for that amazing introduction. Good evening to you all. Please respond to me. Good evening. Yeah, I know we're used to Zoom where you say good evening and no one says hi back. Yeah. So now we are not on Zoom. Good evening. Good evening. Say it energetically. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you very much, and welcome to our panelists. It's an amazing evening that we are with you, and I believe that from how many of you took a deep breath after the keynote? How many of you took a deep breath? Amazing. So I believe that we are already at a very high note, and I want us to keep on that note in this panel discussion. So I was going through the profiles of the people that are in front of you, and I know that you may have seen, LinkedIn doesn't keep quiet. It says, so-and-so viewed your profile. So they are great people. So you must make sure that you have your notebook near you so that you can keep on taking notes as we have this discussion. So to kick off our panel discussion, where the theme is leaders across disciplines and captains of industry panel discussion. So we have leaders across different fields, and we want to hear their insights with us here today. So as we kick off this panel discussion, I will start from my far end, and I would like to request each of the panelists just coming to where I am to introduce themselves and just tell us what is it you would want us to know as we start? Just briefly. They say Nyana. They taught me that. Nyana. So just tell us briefly, what would you like us to know about you as we start?
I would like you to know that the future that you are requiring is inside of you, and it's up to you to unpack it so that you become the person that you really want to be.
Wow. All right, thank you. Can clap for her? Yeah. Amazing. Let's go to you, Mr. Peter.
Welcome and thank you for kind words. As you can see, I've probably come here to bring up the average age as I look around. But I think the challenges that you all face today is the rapid change that we're seeing, not only in the everyday industry and the workplace, but throughout all walks of life. If you look back over, which I can, over 55 years as an engineer, the challenges that I faced seem minimal to what the challenges that you're going to face. To keep abreast of technology, as was alluded to before, is, I think, going to be your greatest challenge. Whichever field you're in, that challenge is going to be immense, but not insurmountable. Don't be afraid. You will succeed if you've got the will and the way to do it. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, clap for him. Amazing.
Doesn't Nyana mean we have 30 seconds?
All
Thank
right.
you so much for the kind introduction. I think the one thing for me that I would like you to take away from this conversation and this event in particular is that you too belong and you too have it in and of yourself to do whatsoever it is that you've set your mind to. I think so often it's so easy to get carried away in the challenges and the nuances, but I highly recommend resilience and diligence. I highly, highly recommend resilience and diligence, and I hope that we'll take away from that from this conversation. Thank you.
Wow. I know that you have talked to us and you have given us an amazing keynote. But for this panel, what would you want us to know?
Nkosi yami. I guess, for me is lots of people will tell you what is not possible. That you are too young, too black, too woman, too straight, to this, to that, right? And I want you to be able to look them in the eye and say, that is your limitation, not mine. And then you say to that person, watch me, right? I want you to be the model for the next generation of leaders, for the next generation of young people that say, I am going to be that because you guys here have actually been able to do it and attain it. And because if you guys are not breaking new barriers, if you guys who are sitting here are not shattering the glass ceiling or whatever other ceiling is there, then the next generation, in fact, you become the limiting factor and the lid that actually stops what is possible for you, for your family, but more importantly, for the progress of Africa and the world. Don't be that limiting factor.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's deep. And we are getting deeper. Clap for her and clap for all the panelists. Thank you so much. I'm so honored and privileged to be on this side moderating this panel because I'm getting it firsthand before it gets to you. And I can tell you that I'm already so much soaked into this discussion. So we are here to talk about the future of work, and the scholars that are seated in this auditorium today are from very diverse backgrounds in terms of academics, and backgrounds in terms of countries where they come from. As you heard, I come from Kenya, proudly Kenyan, and we have Jambo. Yeah, we have a great array of countries where they come from, but they have all come in sought to seek knowledge. So in that pursuit of knowledge, that is why this discussion becomes very, very important. All right, so I must admit this. From the script, we were supposed to start with the keynote speaker. But ladies and gentlemen, allow me to give her a bit of time to take a deep breath and give us another, the punches. So we'll start with all our panelists, the discussion where we want to talk about some of the things we need to know, especially in the current evolving job market. And the first topic will be on skills. And I would like to start with Ms. Rugua. From your experience working at ABSA, and with the tremendous progress that the bank is making, and from also your insights working there, what are some of the digital skills that the students, scholars who are sitting here under the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program need to know that as they prepare for their professional careers, what should they have to be on the edge, to have an upper hand over the others?
Thank you very much. I would start by saying the digital world, like Dr. Yolanda has said.
I'm not doctor, guys. The last time someone was called a doctor, they were killed.
Okay, I'll correct it to Yolanda then. What Yolanda has said is that digitization is here and it's going forward. And we need to keep abreast with every digitization that is coming in, especially in my finance industry. So I have looked at certain digital skills that are actually helping in order for us to keep abreast with the changes that are happening. The first one will be, the benefits will be automation and efficiency. When I joined the banking industry 25 years ago, we were still using books. When we come to the bank, someone would come with a book and they want to withdraw or they want to deposit, would literally write, and then after that we stamp to show the balance. But if you see in the transition of the banking industry, we have come to a point where we've got the banking apps that we are now using, making everything so easy as compared to before. And technologies has made life so much easier. We can bank from home, we can bank from work, we can bank from anywhere we are, unlike those long queues that people used to dread to go into the banking industry. So you've seen that with digitization, that automation and efficiency, we can't thank that enough. And we also look at data analysis in the work of banking itself. We have reports that we compile, we've got a lot of analysis of data that we do. If we look on the olden days, it also used to be heaps and heaps of work, and we had storages which were locked in order to protect sometimes from fires and from theft. But now we've got the cloud where we can just send and save our information, making life so easy. And that also saves paper and it saves time. So that is one of the other skills which is quite good. And the other skill is, the other benefit is the enhancement of customer experience. We've seen that previously our clients were frustrated coming into the bank. I think the working people can agree with me that it's your lunchtime and you need to go to the bank just to quickly do something. But when you arrive there, you'd see such a long queue. Sometimes you just have to go back because your request has not been done. But now, because of the app that I mentioned and online banking, you can do so much more, and you can be happy that anytime you can do anything. And we also have improved risk management. We've got a lot of digital tools that can help to prevent risk. That is for risk assessment and providing real data so that you can be getting all the risk tools that you need. And the last one that I want to mention on that skills is the regulatory compliance. The business and finance, banking and finance is a highly regulated environment, and most of the times you need to report to the Financial Services Board, to different boards, just to show that you are compliant. So previously also, people had to compile such large files to present for checking and all that. But nowadays, we just have to email, we just have to have Teams discussions just to show whatever you need to show that you are digitally, you are compliant. So that is in regards to the skills that impact the financial industry. And coming to you guys now to achieve long-term success in the financial industry as young professionals, I just want to let you know that in this world that you are in, like the other panelists have said, technology is here and it's here for you guys to use. So the first thing that I want to say is you need to be digitally savvy. We cannot emphasize that enough. You cannot be left behind. You have to be innovative. You have to be professional at all times. And you have to know what digital apps to use. And also when you join the digital world, especially if you come into the bank, you will be advising clients about a lot of things. But for you to be able to advise someone, you need to have the experience yourself. You have to have first experience for you to be able to impart it to the next person. So you need to be digitally savvy. The next one is adaptability, which is also what Yolanda has said. You cannot run away from it. You need to adapt. Now you are in your final stages or beginning stages of your career, so to say. You are coming into the working world. You need to adapt. That transition needs to be there, but don't be scared. When you go there, there's training. Everyone is waiting to see also what you bring, but just be adaptable. Be you, don't be someone else, and be willing to learn. You will see that your adaptability will be such a smooth transition. I'll also go to effective communication skills. That is one of the ones that you actually need, because you need to communicate well. And for you to be able to communicate well, it's something that you need to work on a daily basis. When you are studying, most probably you are alone, but I know you also have discussions where you need to have and use effective communication skills. So there's a lot of things that you need to also know, which is the Microsoft Office. You need to learn how to use PowerPoint, how to use Excel, just to mention a few. So technology will assist you with your day-to-day work. So you just have to take up some courses. There's quite a number of courses, and in the banks, there's a lot of trainings that are there. Actually go and use. We've got Udemy, that is one of them that you can Google and check. You can learn a lot of soft skills courses there. So you can't be left behind. And the other one is also you need to be a strategic thinker. There is a need for you to be able to identify new trends that will be happening in the industry. You have to be on top of the situation. You can't be left behind. You have to move. The banking industry is very dynamic, so you always need to look out for trends, what is going on. Keep yourself abreast with every new thing that is coming. And then lastly, I would say continuous development. You need to continuously develop yourself. I know some of you are already on your masters, some are doing PhD, but that's not the end. There is a lot of other soft things to learn, like I've mentioned at Udemy. So you need to always be on the lookout to see what can you do better. Can it be, professional, telephone etiquette, some simple things that you might not have learned in your degrees, but just so that you can be adaptable and you can fit into the working industry. But like I said, everything lies within you. If you keep it inside, you will die with it. But if you let it out, you will see that there's so many people who are also willing to hold your hand and show you how to tie the ropes. And eventually, you will be also teaching other people how to tie those ropes. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much for the insights. I appreciate on behalf of all the scholars who are listening to us. So I would then go on swiftly, and I would like to direct this question to Ms. Ramoroka. And since you are an international development expert, and she works for the UN Women, I'm right? Yes. We have scholars here who study political science, international development, but even we who are in sciences, you will find most people, we want to work for UN organs. And if you ask, actually, I have conversations with many of them, and you would find that most people want to be somewhere, at least, related to the UN. If it's, for me, in food science, I would say FAO, or World Food Program. So what would be your advice for people who want to enter into that space? We're just studying now. We have an opportunity to hear from you who has experience in that field, and bearing in mind that you get to work with so many people from very diverse backgrounds. What would be your advice for someone who wants to enter in terms of specifically skills that they need to have?
Thank
you can go ahead. Yeah.
I get this question quite a lot, like, how do we enter the United Nations? It is a hard one to crack, I won't lie. I'll start by admitting that. But one of the most important things that I'm going to recommend are in the following rank, right? Number one, when you pursue your degree, make sure that you are carving a niche for yourself, a niche area. And what do I mean by that? I studied political science, but at undergrad, I decided to major in politics, economics, and statistics. Was there something like that really as an offering? No. It was something that I decided that I wanted to pursue something that was related to political economics, and that I could take that and work in the econometrics space as well, right? This is in data analysis and research and the like. And it wasn't something that was actually advised to me. You know how when you choose your modules in first year, they always tell you need how many core modules that are going to give you how many credits, and then these are your electives and all that. Economics was an elective that I could take, but I decided to take statistics even to third year. And for me, what I was trying to do really was to separate myself in terms of the skill set and what my offering would be from everybody else who graduates with a political science degree. Because the truth is, we all have political science as a course or a module, right? Yeah. We all have international relations. And consequently, even to date, when I hire, I look at those kind of things, because what does this influence? There's something to be said about how the world is changing and the skill sets that we're looking for. We all know we had the Millennium Development Goals, and then we moved to the Sustainable Development Goals. What was that transition influencing? The truth is the world is changing. I mean, conversations, for example, around climate change have never been more prevalent than they are today. Conversations about digital inclusion are growing crazily all over around the world, right? So there's a greater need in everything that you do. Just create a niche, decide, and I know sometimes it's very easy to be swayed into, everybody's doing this and I will take on the same thing. No. carve a niche for yourself and make the decision of what is it that you want to contribute to, be it through the climate change work, be it through development itself. I mean, development is very broad because the UN Development Program deals with gender issues, it deals with the environment issues, it deals with food programming. So carve a niche, that's my first recommendation. Second to that, one of the things that I did and did not do well, and I would advise anybody not to do this, please learn a language outside of English. There's 6 international languages that are officially recognized, and some of the people who I've seen really climb up the ladder very quickly are people who know at least 2 to 3 international languages. I learned French in my first year as part of everything else that I was doing. I didn't take it up to third year or until I finished my degree. I kind of dropped it. And then now I'm having to go back and revisit that. So I'm currently learning French with Alliance Française, and I'm going to be taking a knowledge immersion program in France next year. So that's something I would also recommend. And the last thing I'm going to say is please, and Yolanda alluded to this a lot, please be willing to take volunteer opportunities. Please volunteer. It could be at a shelter, it could be at a nonprofit organization near where you are, and do not take up an opportunity because it is not paid. When I joined the UN, by the way, I joined the UN as an intern, and at the time I just started my master's program. I finished my honors, moved to New York to do my master's, and within a month of moving to New York, that's when I joined the UN. It was an unpaid internship for 6 months. You can only imagine how expensive it is to live in New York. Here I am doing an unpaid internship. The maths is not mathsing. Even I thought, But to be honest with you, that was the first step that opened the door to all the opportunities I've gotten thereafter. Because after I finished that internship, they called me back. They wanted me to come back as a consultant. A year later, 2 years later, moved by. I've been there for over 7 years now. This is my 6th year, going on 7. So please take up unpaid work. It might not look glamorous. It might not look like the fanciest thing. It might not make the best economic sense, but please take it up. I'll stop there.
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah. Have to get this clear. Did you just say when I hire?
Oh, yes, when I hire.
You guys know where to go. All right. Okay. So we will go to the next item, which is professional development and success. And in professional development, I would want to give this question to Mr. Peter. And with your successful career in engineering, what is the place of professional development? And I would want to add there meaningful networks in your experience. What are some of the insights that you would want to share with us? You can go ahead.
But professional development doesn't only involve the engineering side. It involves the medical side, I know on the accountant side. It's something where we never stop learning. Even myself, at my relatively advanced age, you will not believe how much I learn on a daily basis. What I've learned over the years, and I've been fortunate enough to surround myself with young engineers. As I said, I'm 75. There's another engineer works for me who's 63. And the rest, Kuda's in his 20s. We've got a young engineer who's in his 30s. We've just employed a young Indian engineer, lady engineer, and she's early 20s. And I learn a lot from the staff, the young staff. It is a requirement of the Engineering Council in South Africa that we maintain the professional development, and we've got to attend a number of courses each year to keep up that, our professional integrity. And again, like was alluded to early, technology is changing at such a rate that if you do not take up these courses, then you fall behind, and you have there's the threat of not being registered. We've got to re-register every 5 years, and it's quite onerous on the younger staff because courses are not cheap, but it is a necessity. I think whichever field you go into, you must never think that you've reached the end of the knowledge that you're going to gain over your life. And if I might diverse a little bit, my greatest fear for young graduates like yourself is getting that first job, getting the foot in the door. As an employer of staff for the last 50 years, it is very difficult on a limited budget to employ people that come with very little work experience. And as was alluded to earlier, never give up a chance of doing voluntary work or internship with no pay. Myself, I've employed a number of interns over the years, and we have a student with us at the moment who's just finishing his degree, and part of his degree he must do a number of hours with a consulting engineer. And from my side, I don't like to have interns that I don't pay. But I expect, if I expect money that I will pay them, I expect to get some knowledge back as well. And certainly my company, we pay expenses and traveling to the interns, and we give them a small salary. But I look to see that they are, whichever way they're doing, whether they're helping the other engineers, I expect them to bring that money back into the company. But again, if I might reiterate, my biggest fear for you young graduates is the foot in the door, and I really don't have any advice on how to get in there. It's it's contact, it's maybe LinkedIn, it's friends, it's colleagues, it's people that you were at varsity with that has managed to secure a position with a company. But don't be afraid of not getting that big check when you start work, because I can tell you it doesn't happen. I know that from bitter experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Once again, you guys, I have heard somewhere all right. So we'll go to the next question is regarding AI and digitization. And I would like to give this to Ms. Cuba. You said you accept Cuba, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A whole country.
All right. So from your experience at MTN, I would want to allude to that and ask the question about how has AI impacted telecommunication, but also what should we young people know when we are using AI in terms of communication, because we are literally always on social media.
Yeah.
At any time of the day, always on social media. So it's either making calls, just scrolling anyhowly, and all of them have actually adopted that technique that you can scroll from morning to evening. So what should we know as we transition to even the workplace?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's start with kind of AI and MTN, right? So, in technology, we've been using AI for a long time, right? One of the things that you would actually see is even how we segment, even the banks use AI for that, how we segment bases. So, a long time ago, when I started in telecoms, we used to say, you know, those promotions that you get, that, you know, buy airtime for this and so on and so on. So we used to, I call it spray and pray, right? Spray a message and hope some people actually respond, right? And we used to get less than 1% response rates, successful response rate on that. And what we used to do is we used to aggregate people. So we'd say, in this category, there are people 18 to 23, and they are females, and they are this, and then we aggregate them in one and actually give them the same offer, right? And so I used to call that segment of many, right? And today, we actually have a segment of one. So we profile you as a customer. So when you talk about kind of just for you or made for me, from MTN or from Vodacom, you dial *123 on, for example, Vodacom, and then you actually have a proposition that is only tailored towards your usage. If your friend next to you actually does exactly the same number, they get a different proposition, right? Because now we start looking at you as an individual and your behavior as well. And then we actually then are able to maximize our revenue from you by stretching you in certain ways. Don't worry about how we do that, but you know, in order for you to spend more on our services or things like that, right? If you've been on Temu, those on Temu or any or Take a Lot or whatever, have you seen the kind of specials they give you? They also use that. They use AI in order to determine your behavior and then actually stretch you based on what you like, right? And AI is actually embedded in a lot of things as well that we do, whether it's our network, how we operate our network, and the chatbots that you talk to. When you text us, you know, it's not a person that's actually responding to all of you 24/7, you know, at any hour that you want something, you just text that thing and then it just responds back. It is a chatbot, right? It is AI-based, it is taught how to do what it's doing, and we feed it with a lot of data in order for it to actually be able to do that. So in order to use AI in an effective way, there are two prerequisites. One is the infrastructure, and then the second one is the data itself, right? You have to have lots of infrastructure that allows for it, from cloud storage to processing capability and all those kind of stuff, and the tools as well. And then on the other side is actually a heck of a lot of data that is clean, I'm gonna call it that for ease of reference, that you're gonna be able to process. At MTN, we actually have what we call EVA, believe it or not. So think of Eve as kind of what we call our data lake, right? So all the information about everyone who's ever been a customer is actually deposited on EVA. And therefore, we know what kind of behaviors people tend to have. We learn behaviors based on that. And then on top of EVA, which is the data lake, we actually have something on top called Adam. So it's Adam and Eva, believe it or not. And Adam is only advanced data analytics system, right? That's what Adam is, as a management system to be able to process the data. So if you think about that, do you know how many careers have I spoken about just talking about just data processing and data infrastructure? I've spoken about opportunities in cloud computing, in infrastructure, in data science. By the way, anyone again can do this. It doesn't matter what degree you have. If you do a data science overlay, you can be a data scientist. So whatever degree. So that's what ambidexterity that I was talking about. So the people that are most in demand right now in terms of career, software engineers, data scientists in Africa. Right? We just don't have enough. Right? So I went not last year, sorry. When was I last in China? Sorry. I was in China in June, whenever, around there. And we went to visit Alipay, WeChat, and so on. And, you know, we sat with one of the guys, right? And they said they have 75,000 software engineers. One company. Right? 75,000, right? purest data, software engineers, right now at MTN that we're building up, we're now at just over 200. Software engineer, pure, just all they do is software engineering, right? Because we've been outsourcing all these functions and now we're insourcing it. But the point is, there are so many careers that I'm talking about just in that space that actually didn't exist literally 5 years ago. Today, when we talk about AI, there are these things called prompt engineers. You know prompt engineers, right, guys? If you don't know prompt engineers, I'm going to slap you, right? So prompt engineers are people that actually do the prompting, the actual correct prompting for your AI. So if you go into ChatGPT or any of them, any of the platforms for AI, Gen AI, and you ask it a question as silly as kind of, what is the color of whatever, like the stuff that we just do on search, right? On Google search. You know, when you do Google search, you quickly, what is a synonym of this or whatever? You know, what are the symptoms of this or whatever? You know, if you're doing that, I'm going to slap you, right? When we go into Gen AI, right, we do something a little bit more sophisticated. We give it a context, right? And then we actually tell it what we want it to do. We tell it the limiting factors that it must consider, right? And then we ask it to give us an answer in the way that we want it, right? Who of you actually have small businesses that they've started online? There must be one person. There at the back, right? So when you go into Gen AI, what kind of business do you have? Is that? Clothing shop, perfect. Okay, so if he wants to go into Gen AI, he can go to ChatGPT and say to ChatGPT, I've got a clothing shop that specializes in men, women, age group, whatever, and I want to do a campaign that will specifically target these kind of people, right? And it should be in Africa, in Pretoria, is it online, whatever. You give it all the context. And then afterwards, say, I want to run a campaign for the next 12 weeks on Instagram and X or whatever that on. Please come up with the most engaging media plan for me that will maximize my return on investment on this, and put it in a table format so that I can import it into my calendar, right? Do you know what it does? It does that, it does, and then it gives you the whole thing and say, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. These are the things that you're gonna post. And then you say, okay, thank you for that, right? However, can you propose the kind of images that I should have together with that? Or a video that I should have, what kind of video should I have with that? It will give it to you within 3 seconds. Why would you not be using that, guys? Right? So that's what I'm trying to tell you. The more we use this, because AI, Gen AI is actually quite conversational. You actually talk to it, right? So that was the first part of the question. I can't remember this again. It was MTN related. What was the second part?
The second one was in relation to social media.
Oh,
What
social
should you
media.
know? Yeah.
Guys, you know, when you go to them and they go and they're trying to employ you, you send your CV. You know the first thing that we do? HR. Do you know what they do? They do a social media scan. Right? All these comments that you make, and then you say, I want to work for the UN, and you've been hating on your social media, and you've been liking tweets that are actually very exclusionary and discriminatory, and then you want to apply to the UN. It doesn't work. Okay? Just doesn't work. Use your social media, guys, passive scrolling, you know, try and limit it, right? It makes you dumber, by the way, it's been proven already, okay? There's enough data sets that actually shows you that just passively scrolling actually makes you dumber. So you can do that and kind of check out your friends. I don't understand why you want to spend the whole day watching other people's lives. Is your life that boring? Seriously, just think about it. What are you doing when you're sitting on social media?
Watching other people's lives.
You're watching other people's lives the whole day. Just think about it. Does that make sense? I'm asking you, does that make sense? It can't make sense, guys, right? So instead of do that, I'm not going to say don't do that, but you can augment it, right? Augment it with real content, right? There's fascinating content on podcasts. There's fascinating content on Netflix, some nice documentaries as well, and things like that, right? That actually add to your body of knowledge, that make you more interesting. You know, when you were saying that what stands you apart is the kind of conversations that you have. People remember the conversations that they had with you. If you are going to come here and only talk to me about TikTok, then I'm not going to remember you. But if you're going to tell me about, what is that documentary, maybe Seaspiracy, right? Some of you might have seen that. It was a long time ago on Netflix, right? It's about, plastic and water, and how the fishing industry is the one that's kind of polluting the seas. And they're telling us that we must actually drink out of plastic straws, right? It doesn't make sense because most of the pollution is actually caused by them rather than by the plastic straws that we drink from. So if someone comes to me and tells me about that, I'll remember that person. And by the way, when you remember someone, do you know what happens in networking? Right? What happens in networking is that one day when I'm trying to employ someone, I remember the people that I've interacted with in a particular context. Or someone is hiring that is my friend, I will remember that actually I had an interesting conversation with this lady from UP and da-da-da-da-da. By the way, people like me don't get jobs because they applied for jobs, right? In reality, I don't remember actually applying for a job other than for my articles. Every job that I've had has come to me, right? I've been asked to take that job, right? But that can only happen as a result of the deliberate networks that you create. And then when you're creating networks, when you create networks, you're actually looking at joining points, connections, right? Which means you have to be interesting enough for me to remember you. If you are not memorable, guys, history has no time for you. So try and be outstanding, as it was said earlier on. History only has time for people that are outstanding, people that are different, people that show their uniqueness to the world. And that's what we're going to remember. So try and do that. What is that extra course that is going to make you different? What is that extra conversation that's going to make you different? I promise you, it's not talking about Kim Kardashians.
Wow. Thank you so much. You can clap for her. Wow, that was powerful. Yeah. So I think at this point, I would want to ask one more question. But before that, I would want to inform the scholars that if you have any question, there should be a roaming mic just in your midst. If you can see it somewhere, prepare your hand to raise. So I would want to ask one more question, and then we go to the question in the audience. So I would ask this question to Ms. Rugua, because we have talked about jobs, skills, and after it's all said and done, we will have to first do our applications. We will have to do our job interviews, and we need to prepare for that. So just briefly, what is one or two things we should make sure as we make our job applications and prepare for our interviews? Because I know probably someone in here has an interview at some point towards the end of the year, and they are preparing. What should they have in mind?
Thank you very much. So if you have not yet reached Yolanda's way of being employed, if you still want to go for interviews, this applies to you. Because she says her jobs looked for her. So for now, you guys, because you are in the entry, you need to look for the jobs. So the first point that I want to talk about is when you are applying for a job at a company, it's very important for you to research about the company. What does the company do? What are its values, especially? Because when they interview you, some of the questions will be asking towards their values to see whether your own values will connect with theirs. So if you haven't done a research, you will most probably miss out on a big opportunity. So that is one of the things that I want you to do. Research on the company first before you go for that interview. And the next thing I want to talk about is your CV. So don't have a generic CV to say, I've got my CV. I'm going to use it for all the jobs that I'm applying for. It's a big no-no. Each job has got specifications, it's got words, key points that it's looking for. So when you apply for a job, each cover letter, it has to address the needs of that job. Because now when they do hiring in the industries, they use AI. You just check to see, is anything that is advertised on the job in your CV? If there is nothing whatsoever that relates, automatically bin, I'm sorry. So you need to tailor-make each CV to meet each job specification that you are applying for. So make it a point that when you apply, do the research and put as much information as you can. The other thing that I wanted to say is also look for the industry professionals in the region of what you're applying for. So if it's for banking and finance, go on LinkedIn, just go check there who are the leading professionals, communicate with them, network with them, find out information, dig deeper, so that when you do that application, at least you know a bit of background of what you want to apply. So as far as job application, those are the key points that I can say. And then for the job interview, the first thing I remember Dr. Grace was talking about punctuality. Be punctual for your interview. You can't let the panelists be there and you are not there. So you need to be there, be in time. Not only on the interviews, even in your job. You have to be professional, you have to be punctual. Don't be late. If you're late, it means you're not prioritizing your job. So even on the interview, even if it's on Teams, you have to be in time. And the second part is dress appropriately. You need to be dressing appropriately for your interview because the way you look, the way you present yourself is what they see. You are what you look. So even if it's your Teams interview as well, remember there's a camera, they need to see you, dress your best, look the best, because it is that what you are showing that they will remember you for. And when they are selecting, they will remember, oh, it's that other one. So if you are spot on, they will also remember you spot on without missing you. So don't forget that. And your body language and your attitude. Have a positive attitude, even at work itself. Be someone who's always on the positive. Don't be negative. The world is not waiting for you to be negative on yourself. People are not there to lift you up. You have to tell yourself, I'm a prisoner of hope. Just believe something good will happen. So even in your interview, be happy as if you have already gotten the job. Be positive, and they can see that when they are interviewing you. So don't forget that trick. And the last one is ask questions. After the interview, normally they ask you, do you have any questions? Don't just say, no, I'm fine. You need to, obviously, you would have seen what the job is talking about. Be inquisitive. Ask a question that is related to that job. They see that you are eager to go. You are willing to join. So with that, I can say that's the little bit of tips that you need to remember when you're applying for the job and when you are called for that interview. And above all, be confident, because when they called you, they have seen something. You have to be authentic. You have to be you. There's only one you. Everyone else is taken. They want you, and you have to show up. You have to present who you are. And all the best.
Wow, yeah. Silanda, you want to say something? Yeah, you can go ahead.
I just wanted to add one thing to that, that
Yes.
actually, I hope you guys wrote that the entire list, right? Guys, just practice. Practice. The questions that they ask at an interview, especially at an entry level, are pretty similar, right? If you go onto that
what's this, that social media thing that you're on? There are standard questions. The first one is, tell me about yourself. Yo, the kind of things that we hear. I was born in Dondoni and I grew up in Dondoni, and you know, I had my aunt who was here, and it has nothing to do with your job. You've just spent 10 minutes, right, describing everything about yourself and not selling yourself. Interviews are about selling yourself. There is 50 other people applying for exactly the same job. And if you are not there to actually present the best version of yourself, then you are not helping yourself. Take that as an opportunity to shine, right? So practice. You know, like guys, I mean, I've seen this one on social media, by the way, that they actually do tell you what kind of questions to kind of expect, right? And how to answer. Tell me about you questions. So please don't go, you know, when I was 5, I did this, and I lived here when I was 5, and then when I was 8, I went here. That's all I beg.
Wow. Thank you so much. So I think we will have one question from the audience. We will have another opportunity to have 1 or 2 questions towards the end. I see one question there. So just when you get the mic, tell us your name, where you're from, what you study, and then ask your question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kukule Tsungwenya, and I am studying International Relations Masters. So this was a very informative session, and what I've learned is what Ms. Yolanda alluded to, is that what seems impossible is actually possible. So my question is directed to Ms. Mahlatsi. As a woman's, a specialist in women's development, I am interested in maritime security and anything maritime, and I fully believe that he who controls the sea has the opportunity for economic prosperity. And what better way to have economic prosperity when we have women inclusion? So my question is, what strategies are key to adopt as an African woman to enter into the labor market that is male-dominated? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So we will answer that for now, and then we will come back to the audience shortly. You can go ahead.
Before I answer her question, I just want to put out a disclaimer that I am not promoting that the UN is doing or recruiting for unpaid work. Just so that we're clear. I just happened to join at the time that the agency I was joining was not paying. A lot of things have happened since then through the UN Youth Office where they are paying for internships. So just for the record, that my hands are clear. The conversation about women entering male-dominated spaces has obviously gained a lot of traction and support, because what we're trying to do really is to make sure that we are debunking any myths, any existing narratives about how certain spaces are only fitted for men, right? So there's the conversation in addition to that where we are lobbying partners, right? Because the other truth is that there's money associated to everything, and we cannot run away from that conversation. We are lobbying partners in making sure that they are gender inclusive, right? This is in the hiring processes and making sure that beyond us saying we have reached parity meaning that we've got 50% of representation of women in leadership positions or in certain roles, we are asking for substantive decision-making power. So beyond representation, we want decision-making power, because you could be at the board, but we all know what I want to say, right? There's window dressing and all of that. And how do you do that? I'm going to say a couple of things, and specifically targeted. I see there's a lot of representation to black and brown women, and I'm going to use the terms black and brown women interchangeably for political correctness, just to flag.
Okay.
There's something to be said about how often I've experienced black and brown women to be downplaying themselves. And in the skill sets and the offerings that you bring, please make sure that you're backing it up with knowledge in terms of skill sets, but also with soft skills. Sometimes just read the room. Is it the right time or a place to say certain things, right? But in addition to that, I want to add to the both comments from both women that are sitting with me around how you are selling yourself and reaching out to people. It's very important for you to find somebody to journey with you, especially if you can find a woman who is in a male-dominated space who can help you navigate the space. It might not be the maritime space, it might be the aviation space, it might be any other space that is male-dominated, right? What does that do? It gives you a resource, or it gives you some form of a template of what has been done, what can I take from this person, and what can I emulate, right? But another thing I'm going to request you to do when you do that is have the diligence and the responsibility to do your own homework, but also to show up as you should. I've had a couple of students, by the way, who reach out to me over LinkedIn, from WITS, from UP, from a couple of institutions. And they'll say they want to have a conversation, how have I navigated the space, they want to enter the same space. Normally what I do, I respond to your message and I give you my email and say, let me know, please write to me. When you write to me, I will respond with a set of dates that suit my calendar. And from then on, I'll be willing to have a conversation with you. Can I tell you that 80% of the time, nobody ever sends that email? And when you don't do that, I don't follow up. You must do your homework. I don't follow up. So ordinarily when someone does that, then I cut that line of communication. But even when someone does open the line of communication for you, please continue to do the homework. It is not my responsibility to be following up with you, are we still meeting? No, I don't do that. I give you a time, you should send me a meeting link. If you don't send the meeting link, I continue with my day. So please take it upon yourselves to make the initiative. And I want to emphasize this because I've seen so many instances where a lot of people are missing out on great opportunities. And why do I say that? And on the counterpart of that, I studied in the US for my master's. So I do have a couple of students from Columbia and a lot of Fordham. I went to Fordham University who reach out. And to be honest with you, if I'm to weigh the experiences I've had, the 80% that never reaches out in our context is the 80% that always follows up in the American context. And why do I share this with you? There's something to be learned about the diligence of American students. And when they want something, best believe they will turn the tables to find you and to make sure you make time in your calendar to meet them. I'm saying, please adopt the same habit. Please adopt the same culture. And my last point on how you miss out on opportunities. I recently had a student who reached out to me. She did her undergrad honors and masters at WITS, but she was accepted to study at Columbia. She didn't have any funding, and I'd been in conversation with her a couple of times. So in America, the academic year starts in August. So this is the beginning of the fall semester. And she was supposed to have left for Columbia. So I happened to be at a dinner one evening and I met somebody who is in a similar role to Yolanda. That's all I'll say. It's not Yolanda, I'm just being honest. And I mentioned this to this lady. Long story short, in a week or two, we had raised just over $200,000 for her to go study in the US. And they'd made it available. And they'd communicated that with her, that they would meet her. They scheduled a meeting with her. I wasn't even part of that conversation, right? So I made the introduction, she met the lady, and I stepped out of the conversation. When I step out, you need to make sure that you step into the conversation, to Yolanda's point, at the level at which the conversation is happening. So what you're reading is going to feed into the conversation. Because you're meeting somebody very informally over coffee, right? You need to make sure that you're reading enough to be able to converse in that room, to be able to show up. Had she never written back to me and sent me an email with a calendar invitation, she would have never had funding for Columbia in summary.
Wow. Can clap for her. Thank you so much. And
I hope I answered this.
And we are clapping also for the energy. Yeah. So I would want to ask a question to Mr. Peter. I have a question about data analytics. And this is data analytics. And this is because when most of us hear about data and, big data, we start to think of mathematics the way it was, harassing many of us in high school. And for people in, let's say, courses that they don't do maths, what are some of the skills and tools that they should also embrace besides generative AI, which can do so many things for us, to make sure that as we go to the job market, we have at least some background knowledge on data analytics?
A difficult question for me to answer as an engineer, but whatever field that you're in, you're going to need to analyze data. Even it's to an income and expenditure account. You will need that. Obviously, the members here that have studied accountancy, or you will have a fair idea of data analysis. Did you say that you did stats?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that stats is one of the sort of difficult subjects. I did it at varsity. Never really got around to mastering it, I don't think. But yes, I think. But we've all got, you know, and obviously it's a simple one. Excel. Everybody's got to be able to use Excel. And if I go further back, when I started as a young engineer, the IBM computer was this size and it had less computer power than my cell phone at the moment. We used to use facet machines that used to wind forward, I think, for multiplication and wind backwards for division. But any industry that you're going to be in, you're going to need to be able to analyze figures. And one, if I can digress, there's one little thing that I would like to say to all of you, is that when you do get out into the job market, you will not be expected to do great things. But what you must do is you must do the small things great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I would want to have two questions from the audience, just two.
Sure.
One this side and one this side, and then we will be drawing to a
Just
close.
a disclaimer.
You can, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, everyone.
Make it, yeah, go ahead.
My name is Gamvelihle, and I am a master's candidate in diplomatic studies. I've got two questions. The first one for Peter. Today, what do you think it takes in the context like in the context of South Africa or contexts like South Africa to build businesses of scale? And then to Mahlatse, so we all know that women are disproportionately affected by the inequalities of the world. And since today we are talking about living in the digital age, in the work that UN Women does around digital inclusion, how does it implement programs in countries with limited resources or political instability? Thank you.
All right, thank you. We can have one from the back.
Hi, I'm Ntaronolo. I'm doing my master's in history. So I have a question for Ms. Molly Rugua. So I wanted to use your experience in banking and finances. So let's say you have a home loan from the bank, and then they give you 500,000 and you have to pay back 2 million, right? So let's say 5 years down the line, you paid half of the amount, and then you want to get access to the amount that you've paid. Is it possible? And if so, what are the implications?
All right. Thank you so much. We will start with that last question, and then we come to the other two questions. Yeah, please just be brief so that we can wrap up.
Okay, thank you for that question. So with home loans, what happens is what determines how much you're going to pay at the end is the interest rate. So when they calculate for you in the beginning, they will even give you a projection of how much you're going to be paying at the end. So coming back to your question, so if you have paid, let's say, after so many years and you want to take some more, you can take. But everything depends on your affordability. Can you afford it? And what do they look at? The first thing they look at is your salary. How much is your salary? If it is increased and you've got like an increment, probably when you took, let's say you were earning 50,000 and now you're earning 100,000, it means your affordability is even more. But it's not just the salary that they look at. In the course of your life, maybe you have acquired a vehicle and you've got vehicle finance. Maybe you've got a personal loan, maybe you've got an overdraft. Say that they look holistically as to how much you qualify. So it's your income versus your expenses. Then you've got the surplus. So the surplus must be able to cover for the installment, the new installment that you're going to get. So if, let's say, you borrowed 500,000 and now you want another 1 million, it means you're going to be paying most probably much more than you were paying in the beginning. So that surplus, the installment, must be able to be covered in that. So that's what they look at. So everything also, it depends on your ability to pay. So if you had defaulted in your vehicle finance or in other things, they also take that into consideration. So it's not a straight accept. It's all about your financial behavior, it's about your income, it's about your expenses. So it's a holistic picture. So it's not only something that they can say yes or no. They look at a bigger picture. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right.
Can I just say something
yes.
as well, right? I mean, there's something important that you said. And you said if you borrow 500,000 and you end up paying 2 million, right? That's what happens, guys, with interest. I know a lot of you didn't do finance, right? Guys, it doesn't make sense to buy an asset with 500 and pay it over 500,000 and pay it over 20 years. Your home loan that you're going to get for your first apartment is going to be for 20 years. But it means you're paying, on average, kind of interest rate over the last 10 years, you're paying almost 1.5 times more than the home loan amount, right? So just understand, the shorter you make your payments and spend less on clothing and rather put it into your home loan or whatever debt you have, it will help you be more financially stable. So when there was a question around what skills do you need to have, yes, data analysis and all that, but I always tell all my mentees, the first skill that you need to have, because only people with financial freedom have real choices, right? If you don't have financial freedom, guys, you have half choices, because now you have to tolerate a boss that you don't even like, right? I'm telling you, you go to work and you grind your teeth, right?
Yeah.
So if you want real choices in life, you have to make decisions about financial choices and financial independence at your age, right? Start saving now, start understanding money now, so that you don't fall into the trap that our mothers and our grandmothers fell into, where they were paying for the same set of furniture, couches. They would pay for 10 years for a couch worth like 500 rand. Which means they have paid it most probably like 5 times over. Doesn't make sense. So if there's a skill that I would employ any of you to have, is to actually at least learn financial skill. Just basic financial, just understanding kind of financials for yourself. I'm not even saying for the business, for yourself.
Wow, financial management. I think I would want to ask for the scholars, are you recruiting for your mentees at this time of the year?
I'll come back to it.
All right.
We'll come back to it.
Thank you so much. Let's hear the question that was asked to Mr. Peter, and yeah.
The question was, how do you build a business of size? Okay, you must remember, and I quote Christo Weiss on this one, who owns Pep Stores and was an accountant in the Northern Cape, if I remember rightly. He said, every big business started small. But what do you need to grow a business? You need enthusiasm. You need hard work. You need hours. It's not a 9-hour day. It's a 20-hour day, I can tell you. And I'm afraid to say, you also need access to finance. And when you have access to finance, you don't want to be buying something that's 10,000 Rand and you're going to spend 100,000. Again, I think on that case, one's got to look at the rate of inflation in our country. I'm going back now maybe 20, maybe longer, 40 years, where we had a high rate of inflation. And the problem arises then is that you can't save enough to buy what you want to buy because of the rate of inflation. Your salary is not keeping up with the rate of inflation. And that becomes a problem. And I know from my own experience in those days, I had to go to the bank and raise money on leasing. We did a lot of leasing in those days because I was never going to be able to save enough to buy the machines or the trucks that I needed, because the rate of inflation was making the cost of the trucks. But I think enthusiasm, hard work, and I don't want to say, but a little bit of luck as well.
That's true.
Thank you. Wow, thank you so much. Just briefly so that, yeah.
I don't have the right answer for this question because the truth is political instability and the context in which it exists varies, right? And you can imagine what it's like in conflict-ridden countries versus a South Africa or versus an America, you know. I'm using loose examples here, but what I'm trying to really hone into is that the ability of most development organizations and the reach of their work is dependent on the contexts in which they are implementing the programs, right? So you can imagine if you were in Afghanistan, when what happened in Afghanistan happened, we lost contact, for example, with a lot of colleagues that were based in Afghanistan. So digital access there looks very different. And the same is true if you think of the cases of what was Ukraine, what is currently Palestine and Lebanon. And the examples continue, what is in the Congo, right? And if there's one thing that has always proven to be a persistent need, we might not want to talk about finance, but the need for development financing has continued to kind of increase every day. Just this week I was reading that the World Bank has increased its development finance budgeting to just over $150 million, right? So you can imagine how much this might on paper look like, okay, there's a lot more money for us to do a lot more programmatic work. But we all know what that means. When that trickles down to every program, to all the countries, the UN currently sits with a membership of 193 countries. You don't want to imagine how many programs we have and across these countries, across all the UN agencies. And I want to actually advise. I know that there's a lot of belief or conversation around how humanities degrees or the work in humanities does not need much quantitative analysis or skill set. And I want to actually say no. And I would recommend very strongly that you consider otherwise. Why do I say that? In everything that we do, it might look like we are just trying to end hunger, but we need to quantify in a specific region, be it in East and Southern Africa, be it in West and Central Africa, Europe and Central Asia, how many children are actually going to bed hungry? Then you take that data, and that is what you use to develop a program. To say, we are targeting 1 million children on a program of 3 years, and this is how much budget we are setting for that. So I beg, I've recommended, but now I'm begging, that you perhaps really take quite seriously what it would be to explore a skill set that is qualitative and quantitative. Because that is what is going to help us end challenges similarly to around the digital access issues, around climate change, around hunger, around gender inequality. And I want to speak briefly on the gender equality mandate, which is probably part of my biggest contribution in this work. There's a lot going on, and the conversation continues obviously to look different. Next year, we're commemorating 30 years of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which is the most comprehensive declaration around women's rights, women and girls' rights in the world, right? And currently what we're doing is that we are under a review process where we are looking at what has changed, what has been the lessons learned, what has been our successes, where have we fallen short in making sure that we have less girl children that are not going to school because of period poverty. What does it look like for us to be able to make sure that we are keeping girls in schools? What does it look like for us to make sure that we are having equal pay, that women are getting paid the same as their male counterparts for doing the same work? And one of the most consistent themes that continue to come up in all of these reviews and assessments and consultations, I say this with a heavy heart, is that the need for transformative policies that are targeted, that are measurable, and that are giving key outcomes is even more important because we have failed in some respects to do that. And what we need really is a group of policymakers that are going to come into the policy space and speak to these issues, but with precision, clarity, and need of result. I'll stop at that.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think we now will wrap it up. I would request that each of you just gives us 3 seconds parting shot. Just 3 seconds. Just a parting shot. We can start from Ms. Yolanda.
Oh, okay, cool. You asked me to speak about the Mentorship Boardroom. The Mentorship Boardroom is a platform that we started that actually allows just anyone, right, including you, to register as a mentee or as a mentor. And basically the idea behind it is to actually democratize access to mentors for mentees. So people that you would never have met, you go on the platform, you register, and then you request them to be your mentor. And then hopefully, and cross your fingers, that they agree, because they actually have to agree. So we've had wonderful people that have been on the platform that are mentors. And, you know, just take a chance. That's all I'm going to say. Take a chance. There's always kind of new mentors actually registering on the platform. So take a chance. Look at someone who is in your industry or who you are inspired by. They might not be in your industry. And actually reach out to them if they're on the list and basically ask them to be your mentor. Because it is through those connections, those networks, that we are actually going to be able to fast track whatever we're doing, our own careers, our own kind of outcomes as well. So that's all I'm going to say. We are on the path to really democratize access for each and every African child. That's what we want to do together with Masidi. And how you get to the Mentorship Boardroom, you just go to www.thementorshipboardroom.com and you register there.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much. Can you give us your parting shot?
Parting shots, I'm going to say 2, might be 3 things. Please read widely. You cannot say you want to be in the diplomatic space or in the development space, for example, and when I talk to you about the Israel and Palestinian conflict, you cannot engage at that conversation. So please read. For example, I don't do work in peace and security, but we can sit and talk extensively about what that conversation and the conflict in Israel and Lebanon, Palestine looks like. So please read, even if it's not in the work that you want to get into. Second thing I'm going to say, please, please build and nurture networks. I cannot count on one hand or even two how many opportunities I've personally gotten purely because of the people that were in my circle of networks. Please build and nurture networks. I'm not saying please go get networks. No, build and nurture networks, because those will open opportunities and doors for you that a CV might not be able to open for you. And I leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Mr. Peter, your parting shot, just briefly.
Remember, you are graduates and you form part of an elite bunch of people on the African continent. There are so many people that are totally 1,000 miles away from you on our African continent. And as I said before, work hard. And as my late father said, nobody ever died of hard work. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Gua, your final words?
Thank you. For me, I want to say financial education, don't take it for granted. We're all going to be working now, so when you get your money, you want to spend it wisely. I don't mind helping you guys. I'm based at Woodlands, Pretoria East, ABSA. So if ever you need financial education, I'm more than welcome to assist you. But if you can't reach me, you can go to ABSA branches. We've got financial advisors. They give free financial advice. How to budget, that is the first thing that is most important, how to use your money. You need to learn how to budget. You need to know a lot of things on how to spend the money. Spend it wisely. There is good debt and there is bad debt. You can't borrow to buy food. You cannot do that. You cannot borrow to buy clothing. In the finance sector, it's not good. So you come and learn about good debt, about bad debt, how to spend your money, and you're soon going to be married or not, but having family or amass wealth. So you also need a will. All those things, we've got them, and we are willing to share with you, because those are not things that you learn normally with your degree, but as you come to the financial advisors, to the financial world, we are there for you. So choose your decisions wisely, and I know that you've got a great future ahead of you. I'm looking at you and I'm already seeing professionals.
Wow.
All the best.
Wow, thank you so much. It's been an amazing panel, and I would want to confirm one thing as my parting shot, that what they have said is true. I have seen it work for me, and I remember I went to a conference in Cape Town last year. I was introduced to one of the major, the C-suite by my professor, and she left me there. And the conversation went on. It was one of the CEOs and president of an organization in my field, and I'm currently serving in the board of that organization. Thank you. All right, so I will welcome Yolanda to give gifts to the panelists for the amazing work that they have done. And we can clap for them. First of all, give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the energy. Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you so much to our panelists for such a rich and insightful conversation that we had, and our moderator, Josiah. We're really grateful for all the knowledge you've shared with us. As we wrap up, I'd like to invite Ms. Tipelele Shongwe. She's a MasterCard scholar from Eswatini, and she is going to give us our closing remarks and acknowledgements.
Yolanda. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to take this opportunity to extend a special thank you to our contributors, our keynote speaker, Ms. Yolanda Kuba, the panelists, Mr. Peter Bond, Ms. Molly Rukua, and Ms. Mahlati Ramaroka. All of this would not be possible without the MasterCard Foundation team. We're truly grateful for this opportunity that you've given us. And to my fellow MasterCard Foundation scholars, thank you for attending. Thank you for being attentive the entire time. So this evening, we've been exposed and we've been reminded that we need to take up space. We need to seek opportunities and we need to play into opportunity as well. The future that we want is inside of us. So let's go out into our different work environments one day and remember these lessons. Thank you.
Thank you, Tipelele, and thank you so much to everyone that has attended tonight. We now invite you to please socialize, network, and continue your discussions with our panelists. They are available to speak with you guys and enjoy some refreshments at the back of the room. Thank you for attending, scholars, and have a lovely evening further.